Good, happy Tuesday morning, February 16, 2021. I'm Riley King, and welcome to this Tuesday morning edition of the Riley King Newscast, right here on the Riley King Network. Let's begin. First up, we're going to begin with your COVID-19 update. And here is a look at those COVID-19 updates for all of you this morning. There are 71,017 number of people in New Hampshire tested positive for COVID-19. There are 1,135 number of deaths from COVID-19 in New Hampshire. And there are 125 current number of hospitalizations for COVID-19 in New Hampshire. And that is a look at your COVID-19 data for New Hampshire. Steady snow, wintry mix overnight. With more on that, let's go to meteorologist Mike Haddad with that weather forecast.
At Plymouth Ford, we believe in life, liberty, and the pursuit of lower payments.
Thank you very much for joining us. Stormwatch 9 weather on the web. A very active weather pattern means 2 storm chances this week. The first one rolls in overnight tonight through the very early afternoon hours tomorrow, midday, maybe 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and then another storm likely by the tail end of the week. But for this storm coming in overnight tonight, steady snow and ice after midnight. In advance of that, even during the course of the evening hours, there could be a couple of snow showers and maybe even a touch of freezing drizzle south that may make roads a little bit slick, especially the untreated ones through that time. Then, any snow quickly goes over to sleet and then freezing rain in southern New Hampshire overnight tonight, and that makes for difficult travel when you factor in a wintry mix and snow that picks up in intensity overnight right through the morning commute on Tuesday. So again, a scattering of light snow or mixed showers through midnight, then the slug of very heavy snow, mix, and rain advances from around midnight or 1 a.m. until about 1 o'clock tomorrow afternoon. So here we go, it fills in. Notice in southern New Hampshire, it's already warming up at upper levels of the atmosphere. So that means it'll be tough to get a big snow tally here south of Concord, maybe an inch or 2 at best, but really leaning on a lot of sleet and then freezing rain, possibly going over to plain rain at the coast and maybe into the lower part of the Merrimack Valley during the morning commute tomorrow. Farther north, it stays more frozen. Snow right through about daybreak, White Mountains north with a little bit of sleet mixing in, while in central and southwestern New Hampshire, it'll be that mix of sleet and freezing rain. Out ahead of that change over to freezing rain and rain at the coast, 6 to as much as 8, 9, or 10 inches of snow, the northern part of the White Mountains and points north. I would say the higher elevations get in on that 8, 9, or 10. Then 3 to as much as 6 inches of snow right around the Mount Washington Valley, through the upper valley. At this point, leaning on the 3 or 4, but there may be a few tallies up near 5 or 6. And then Concord Point South, maybe an inch or 2. A very slight chance if the models and the storm trends a little bit colder overnight, we could see 3, but leaning on the lower end of that 1 to 3. And even around Nashua, Salem, over to the coast, possibly a coating to a half inch before that changeover to the sleet and freezing rain. Speaking of freezing rain, that will add some ice. A glaze, very light glaze, far north. A thicker glaze, maybe up to 1/10 of an inch. Conway, Plymouth, the upper valley, the lakes region. But then, just south of there, to about Concord, south and west to about Peterborough, and just northwest of the Queen City, we could see up to 1/4, maybe even 1/3 of an inch of ice. Certainly will result in some slick travel, but also may result in scattered power outages during the morning hours tomorrow. So keep that in mind if you live in that part of the state. Behind this storm, bright, breezy, and chilly on Wednesday, sun to clouds on Thursday, and then another storm starts to snow, may mix, but this time it looks a little bit colder, so that mix may be confined to extreme southeastern New Hampshire later Thursday evening through Friday before it turns dry and chilly over the weekend.
Okay, and there you go on that weather forecast from meteorologist Mike Haddad. Fire officials urge residents to take precautions to stay safe during the storm. Let's take a listen to that video from WMUR News 9.
When it's time to invest in a new roof, be smart and look at more factors than just the final price. Not all roofs are the same.
Officials say a storm like this highlights the danger of fire and carbon monoxide hazards. If the lights go off, many will turn to generators. Those should be kept at least 5 feet away from the house.
Don't refuel the generator while the generator is still running. We had a carbon monoxide death last year in a garage because a generator was running in the garage.
State Fire Marshal Paul Parisi is reminding everyone to be careful when using any alternative heating sources and make sure smoke and carbon monoxide detectors have batteries.
The hardwired ones are great, but if the power goes out, you want to make sure that you still have battery operated alarms as well.
As always, it's important to clear snow around vents, and taking preventative steps can reduce the threat of fire, like cleaning dryer vents.
Over the years, the dryer vent is just going to get caught up in the pipe, and we'll use compressed air and brushes to kind of get everything to blow out.
603 Chimney and Dryer Vent is seeing a lot of furnace-related issues, and they recommend getting the chimney inspected and possibly swept at least once a year.
As far as, burning a wood stove or a fireplace, you just want to make sure that you're burning clean, dry, seasoned wood. Especially in a wood stove, you want to make sure that you don't let it cool down and then heat it back up. That's what's going to cause a lot of creosote.
603 Chimney says this time of year is usually a lull in business for them, but the calls happen steady throughout the winter, with more people staying home. Reporting live, Mike Cronin, WMUR News 9.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. Good information there. Younger age group had most COVID-19 diagnoses in the past week in New Hampshire. COVID-19 numbers trending lower in New Hampshire. Let's take a listen to that video.
Does your boiler or furnace vent into your chimney? The majority of chimney flues in New Hampshire are actually used to vent oil and gas.
New numbers from the state show declines in the 7-day average for new COVID cases. The test positivity rate is down, along with a drop in hospitalizations, and the 7-day average shows a drop in deaths. Doctors say safety measures and the vaccinations are helping drive down numbers.
The vaccination may start to have an impact very soon. We have about 10% of the New Hampshire population who has received at least one dose, which means that we're starting to get a little bit of immunity.
Doctors say every bit of immunity helps, but there's a long way to go, and a focused warning for people ages 20 to 29. This group has the highest number of cases in the past 7 days.
Perhaps because they are less likely to be hospitalized or die, they may not be taking COVID-19 as seriously or not feeling the need to protect themselves.
Health experts say every age group needs to follow safety guidelines to control the spread, especially with COVID variants emerging, which can be more contagious.
If you have increased transmission of disease, that would put your risk for more hospitalizations and, again, possibly more deaths, and that's really what we want to avoid.
Health experts say, vaccinated or not, everyone should be masked. Keep a social distance, avoid large gatherings, and keep washing your hands. Jean Mackin, WMUR News 9.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. Good information there. Officials with New Hampshire DOT Eversource say they are ready for winter storm. Let's take a listen to that video from WMUR News 9. Also, they urge the public to stay off the roads on Tuesday.
Why buy a new Ford from Plymouth Ford? Because we stand behind them all with a 20-year.
Well, Monica, there's not really much on the roads right now as expected, but they are expected to get worse overnight, making the morning commute a tricky one.
The variable nature of this storm is always going to present different challenges depending on where you are in the state.
New Hampshire DOT says it is ready to meet those challenges with 300 road crews and an additional 334 pieces of contracted equipment tackling everything from heavy wet snow farther north to sleet, rain, and icy conditions.
The bulk of it will be overnight, and so we're hoping that most people will be home. We always like for people to stay home in a snowstorm. It's the safest place that you can be.
They say they also continue to see issues with people crowding the plows, causing accidents like this one DOT posted to its Twitter page. Fortunately, neither driver was hurt.
We've had and continue to have incidents with our plow trucks on the road with accidents and people trying to pass plows.
As plow crews get ready, the storm continues to make its way across much of the country, which also means there could be more of a strain on mutual aid as they take care of outages in their own states.
We are ready to respond, though, and regardless of what happens in other states, we do have approximately 600 line tree and service workers here in New Hampshire ready to serve our customers.
Eversource says this type of heavy wet snow could cause outages. They advise preparing a storm kit with essentials like a first aid kit, a battery-powered radio, non-perishable canned goods, any medical supplies you may need like prescriptions, and have your cell phone charged. And now this storm has brought icy conditions to parts of the country as it has moved through, so the DOT says if you can stay home through this one, you should. Live in Bedford along the Everett, I'm Cherise LeClaire, WMUR News 9.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. Good information there. New Hampshire winter tourism industry could see a boost with school vacations week. New snow. Let's take a listen to that video.
Over time, the flue tiles inside your chimney may become damaged from water or even a chimney fire, which could lead to...
From the Mount Washington Valley to the Androscoggin Valley region, there's lots of snow this February, and as the pandemic rolls along, many in the tourist industry think they're now experiencing pent-up demand.
We are hearing that reservations, for example, at Northern Extremes, which is a snowmobile, guided snowmobile tour and rental place, are sold out for the end of the season.
COVID protocols among the many inquiries.
It's getting pretty busy. They're calling about the trails. They're calling about snow tubing, snowmobiling. I think people just want to get out in the fresh air.
The Town and Country Inn and Resort near Gorham, happy to see it.
The mass people want to come north. And again, I think we had over 100 snowmobile trailers in our lot this weekend. It's unbelievable.
And thanks to school vacations starting this week with Massachusetts and Maine and next week with New Hampshire, business will pick up midweek too.
Kids are going on vacation. They're not traveling far, so they're looking for something to do right here in our backyard.
But because of COVID, midweek will be more quiet than usual at the Seacoast Science Center in Rye. Normally bustling during vacations, it's closed to the public weekdays while it hosts vacation day camps.
We've made a commitment to the camp parents that we're not going to bring the public into the building.
Demand seems strong for most any COVID-safe place that is a drivable distance to somewhere else.
We expect to hear at the end of this week it'll have been as good as it could be.
Jennifer Crompton, WMUR News 9.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. Search continues in Manchester area for suspect in weekend homicide. Authorities are searching for Timothy Johnson, who is considered armed and dangerous. Let's take a listen to that video from WMUR News 9.
The National Fire Protection Association says you should get your chimney inspected and cleaned every year.
This was the scene Monday in the Hughes Road area of Manchester, which police say was related to the search for 38-year-old Timothy Johnson, wanted for the second-degree murder of 67-year-old Jean LaSalle.
Mr. Johnson is still believed, hopefully, to be in the Manchester area. We know that he was traveling on foot, and authorities are asking for any help that's possible to be able to locate him and be able to effect that arrest.
LaSalle was shot Saturday outside of 351 Chestnut Street, which is being used as an emergency winter homeless shelter. Families in Transition, which runs the facility, released a statement that said in part, "During this time we pause and acknowledge the horrific circumstances of this event and extend our deepest condolences to family and friends who are mourning his death." Authorities say that Johnson should be considered armed and dangerous, and under no circumstances should he be approached. Authorities have released several pictures of Johnson and want to highlight a distinctive tattoo on the left side of his neck. Officials say they have released a New England-wide bulletin looking for Johnson, but think it's very possible he's still in the area.
We may have been able to find a ride with an individual or somehow get to some sort of public transportation that we're unaware of. So we have expanded our search to outside of just the Manchester area, but again, still Manchester police are especially focusing on the city right now.
In Manchester, Andy Hirschberger, WMUR News 9.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. Changes in place for Ash Wednesday because of COVID-19. Ash Wednesday traditions will carry on, but services are being altered. Let's take a listen to that video from WMUR News 9, Mike Cherry.
Does your boiler or furnace vent into your chimney? The majority of chimney flues in New Hampshire are actually...
Preparations for Lenten season are underway for Catholics and Christians around the world.
It's a time to begin conversion as we prepare for Holy Week and Easter.
In New Hampshire, Ash Wednesday traditions will carry on, but services are being altered. According to recommendations provided by the Vatican, the blessing of the ashes by clergy will happen just once rather than the traditional prayer, when they're face-to-face with parishioners. Also, to avoid skin-to-skin contact, clergy will not apply ashes directly to people's foreheads.
And then the people will come forward, most probably kneel, and the priest will then sprinkle ashes on the heads of the people.
According to the Vatican, clergy may also use Q-tips to apply the ashes, but a new swab will be required for each person. Wearing a mask will also be required for each priest, but no one will be turned away from service if they forget to bring one.
We have masks at all our entrances and disinfectant, so we make those available to people at every Mass, every week, and every day.
The Diocese of Manchester says it's been successful in avoiding any outbreaks at its services so far, and in order to keep it that way, they're offering online Mass as well.
They'll be able to certainly watch the Mass, hear the readings, but when it comes time to receiving ashes, it'll be a personal, internal desire and prayer on their part.
Mike Cherry, WMUR News 9.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. Texas City forced to shut down and shut off water due to winter storm. City officials in one Texas community announced Monday night that all city water service had been shut off due to the historic winter storm and cold. The city water service were shut off down at 7 p.m. local time as a result of power outages from both power sources at all three of the water treatment plants, the city said in a statement. Officials said they don't know when the power and water will be turned back on. And that does it for this morning edition of the Riley King Newscast, right here on the Riley King Network. I hope you all have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you back here later on today for another newscast. I'll have a news report coming up in a little bit. Goodbye, everyone.